eventually.
Yeah.
But she didn't like that. And so I would get shit for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, again, it goes back to, let me try to manipulate the situation to my advantage. That's what she would do constantly. Just try to get people under her control. I kind of figured out a way to not let that happen to me.
Yeah. It can be very difficult if you are in a new relationship like you were, or if you are somebody whose love language is acts of service or a sub, to make that differentiation. But you got to. For your own health, for your own sanity, for your own future, you've got to figure out where it's different. Because people will receive it well and will reciprocate either in that way, in that same way, or other ways.
Just show some kind of appreciation that, hey, I care for you. I love the fact that you're doing these things for me. But also know it's not a requirement, but thank you. And here, I'm doing something for you now because I appreciate you in my life.
Yeah, and it might not be the same thing.
No.
But it will be something.
Because you don't want me to cook. Yeah. Trust me. I mean, I'll grill out like there's no tomorrow, but you put me in the stove and flavor shit. Mm-mm.
Yeah, appreciation for bringing the coffee does involve spitting it out.
Spitting it in your face, when you bring it to them.
Or never drinking it.
Or never drinking it, or...
It's like, hey, can I get a cup of coffee? Okay, and it'll sit there for 3 days, literally.
That was weird. That's actually why I started giving it to her in smaller and smaller cups. Yeah. Until they got those little teacups.
Because she would just take it and she did it just to get it, and that was it.
Getting it was the important bit.
Yep, not drinking it.
It wasn't the fact. And yet, she'd refuse to wake up without it.
Mm-hmm. Where's my coffee?
So there are ways that even if you are that sort of person and you sit there and think to yourself, but I like doing those things for that person.
Just don't let yourself be taken advantage of.
Yes.
I was there too. I liked doing things. I liked the smile on somebody's face when I brought them a thing. I like all of that.
Yeah, because I gotta say, when Crow walks in the bedroom and I'm like, my eyes are barely open and he has a cup of coffee, or my cup of coffee is sitting next to the bedside, and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yes.
And it really wasn't until the two of you came into my life that I started understanding there's a difference between how you two were responding to me and how I had been responded to in the past. Hopefully, that's one of the benefits. Yeah, the benefits, yes. One of the benefits of being in a poly relationship, or even poly-minded, is you get to experience new relationships. They don't necessarily need to eclipse the old ones, but they can show you different things.
They can definitely show you different relationship dynamics. Mm-hmm. And so if you think you're in an abusive relationship and you have a poly relationship that with somebody that's not abusive, you definitely start to notice things.
Yeah, and it's like so many other things. People will say, well, I don't want to do this because it will ruin my marriage. No, it won't.
No, your marriage
nothing really will.
Probably.
In fact, if you're afraid of it, it's just like there's a comedian who said, here's a news flash for you. If you're afraid to hang out with gay people because you're afraid you will become gay, you're gay.
Yeah.
You totally are. That's just it. That's if that's your big concern, you're gay. So it's one of those things that I would question if people are, I don't want him hanging out with other people because he might find somebody better.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might convince them that I'm horrible.
That's probably the case. It's probably what's happening.
Whenever Jay and I first started dating, and actually she was a friend before we started dating, a lot of my friends were female. For whatever reason, it's just something that I make better friends with females than males. Mm-hmm. It's just something that's always been. But Jay has never had a problem with this. She always knew that, where my loyalties lied. Mm-hmm. She never had to question, anything about that. Whenever I was talking with one of my exes, when I was talking to another girl, just a friend, or hanging out with a friend who was female, she would have an issue with it. Mm. Like everything from the silent treatment to arguments to whatever about why was I talking to them, or completely misdirected argument about something else that all came back to they were feeling some kind of way about me talking to or hanging out with someone else.
Not only that, the person that they were jealous over would be completely degraded and shut down and given horrible nicknames and, just all of and we're just like, what?
blue-haired skank.
Oh, was it?
It was blue-haired skank.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Super nice person. Like, super amazing, fun to talk to,
absolutely.
fun personality, just, but she had a problem because she was like that.
I was giving attention to someone who wasn't her, which is weird in a poly relationship.
That is, it's super weird.
So something else that's really important is interrupting or disrespecting your time and your commitments, or purposefully doing something that somebody knows. Like, let's say I knew Zan liked to be on time all the time.
All the time.
And
early.
I just decided every single time he wanted to leave the house and had to be somewhere on time, I would do all I could to make him late. And convince him that it was a sign of affection.
Yeah.
That he loved me more than he loved this obligation to just be patient enough with me and deal with the disrespect. And that's so fucked up.
That's like, whether you're taking way too long to get ready to go to the thing, like, get up earlier. We're all adults. You know what time we need to go, and you know how long it takes to get ready to do that.
And you know it's important for them, and it stresses them out when they're going to be late.
The person who hates being late is starting to walk out the door, and that's when you offer sex.
Sabotage.
Yep.
It's really? Like, now?
And my answer is no, need to go.
Yeah, it's a huge red flag and something that is abusive. It's really abusive to have somebody to be so disrespectful, especially if they continue to keep doing the thing. Now, if they do something one time and, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I really didn't realize, whatever. That's different. But we've had partners in the past outright tell us it was a sign of their devotion and love to them that this person just tolerated them purposefully making them late all the time. Another thing,
Feeling a little called out.
Another thing would be indifference. Basically, your partner is hurting, crying, suffering, needing to be held, loved, wanted, and you're just completely
Whatever.
Not even.
Meh.
Don't even care. Go about doing your own things.
Hold on, I'm almost finished with this level.
That's abuse.
Oh, geez.
Oh, God.
Can you stop crying for 5 minutes? I got to finish this. I can't hear the game.
Yeah, that's abuse. And then convincing you that no matter how you felt about something, if it was not in agreement with them, then you're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That's abuse. And usually that will end up with a manipulative tactic of twisting and turning it into something, and then an argument, and then it's
a never-ending cycle.
If the discussion or argument keeps going and has to keep going until it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, never taking blame for anything.
So, we're gonna talk about this, and it sounds like, okay, I'll share what I have to say, they'll share what they have to say, and everything, we'll come to a mutual agreement. We'll talk about a few strategies. We'll talk about how to make a better connection. We'll talk about how to make a better relationship overall, and everybody will communicate and be happy. And if it just keeps going, hours, we're in third hour now, and no, this really was your fault. No, well, what about this and what about that?
When I have to spend so much time trying to make it not their fault.
So we could go on and on. We could probably have like 10 episodes on abuse, because there are so many ways that you can be abused. There are so many warning signs, and we all pretty well know them. If you know somebody who's being abused in any kind of way, please try to reach out and get them help and make them aware.
It's currently not legal to get a divorce if you are being mentally or emotionally abused, which is super weird.
Right.
But that's just how it is. In fact, and many states have varying laws. I know that California is a completely no-fault state. So you can literally, in a mono relationship, you can walk in on your partner currently performing services for an animal, and it's still a no-fault state. They still, it's a half split and the whole
See, what
thing.
that kind of brings up, when we're talking about abuse, we're not just talking about male on female abuse. abuse can happen in many different dynamic relationships, whether it's poly, where hell, any member of an LGBTQ plus community relationship. We've seen it happen on so many different levels. I mean, just, recently, Johnny Depp.
Oh, yes.
His ex-wife was pointing the blame on him because,
and
she could.
Social media took off with that.
Oh, yeah.
And he was immediately hung out to dry, and it turned out it was actually going the other way.
Right.
And
because men can be abused. Because I know, Jay has mentioned before about people being taken advantage of because they're nice. Mm-hmm. And Jay will tell me I have the white knight syndrome where I'm there to protect people, and that's one thing that she doesn't want me to get in a relationship to try to do for somebody, and doesn't want somebody to see me as their way out of something.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want your good nature to be taken advantage of.
Right.
Typically, if men are in a physically abusive relationship, they have to file as physical cruelty, not physical abuse.
Yeah.
And that's because of people's perception of...
Well, men can be abused.
Instead of calling a spade a spade... Well, because when they legally define it, it comes to, was your life in danger?
Right.
And most men have to admit, well, probably not. I was getting hit, but I don't think I was about to die.
But...
It's abuse.
But it's still abuse.
Yeah.
And I would like us to legally start calling a spade a spade.
Yeah.
It wasn't just cruelty. It was abuse. And men are hampered by the fact that as a society, we're really not allowed to hit back.
Or, that spans the abuse spectrum, though, not just physical abuse. That's sexual abuse. That's mental abuse. That's all of them.
Oh yes, because when a male is raped by a female perpetrator, he's given a high five.
Right,
it's
congratulations.
Celebrated.
Yeah, it's celebrated, and when he feels some kind of way about that, he has literally nobody to talk to about it because nobody's willing to hear it. Well, of course you wanted to. I was able to avoid a situation because I was in this situation of, it was a Christmas house party, and there was somebody who called up somebody who was there and wanted to start crap, was starting an argument. And her claim was she was going to, for some reason I got pointed at as a potential target, she was going to pull me into the bathroom and make sure that we got caught. And it was going to ruin our lives.
Wow.
And that was her threat, that she was going to pull me into the bathroom, make sure that we got caught, and it was going to ruin our lives. And it was one of those, do I have any say in this at all?
Yeah.
Can I just say no? Can I just opt out?
Yeah.
And she was convinced. It got prevented. She didn't come there. She didn't do any of those things. But as it was talked about, it was assumed, even by the family who was there at the Christmas party, that it was more important for her not to show up, because it was just like, oh, she's going to grab Crow and pull him into the bathroom, and no inkling of,
well, what about
I would not have been interested.
Well,
Right.
not only not interested in it, but you really not only did not have a say in it, but it was been totally okay for that to happen. Now, flip the story.
Right.
If you would have said anything like that, doing that to a female,
Right.
everybody would have probably beat your ass, and you wouldn't have been walking out of that party.
Right.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's no different. There's no difference. I mean, there's no difference in, that would have been rape.
Right.
Yeah.
Period.
But they wouldn't have called it that.
No, they wouldn't have called it that. They would have, hey, high five. Like, dude, what the fuck?
No, it would have been, you horrible man. How dare you cheat on your wife like that?
Right. So
The stigmas just go all over the place with all this. And, people think it's a celebratory act if a woman is beating her man and keeping him in line, and they make jokes about it, and they, laugh about it, and everybody chips in and chimes in. And I'm sure throughout the community, if there was physical abuse between two women, not many people are going to step in.
no, they would call it a
If
cat
there
fight.
physical abuse between two men, nobody would really step in. They'd let them, duke it out or whatever.
And actually, I have to admit, I've done that before.
Right.
I have let them duke it out, and because it was, way back in the day, I didn't want to get involved. So me and my friend just left the concert. The two guys about to fight in the parking lot, And I was like, I'm not getting involved. I'm not trying to separate them. Let them do what they're going to do. Guys are going to be guys type of situation. Again, my mindset has changed a lot over the last many years.
We all have. We totally didn't realize the fact that it could have been a situation where it was two partners together.
Right.